Where were we? Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the, I believe, 69th episode of the Dancer DLC for Cultist Simulator, playing as Margaret Zell. Now, as is usually the case after a weekend, I'm a little lost in terms of where I need to be for the game, but it's also been a pretty hectic weekend as well, so my review at the start here is going to be a little bit more comprehensive than usual. But I do know that we had a couple of big milestones, such as finding the Frangiclave, as well as a couple of other details. So I suspect that the majority of this session is going to be about kind of clearing out the remaining Evening Isles locations, and then going through the Peacock Door quite a bit. So right now we are doing a painting. Now, I noticed the staleness is at 2, so it could be that I'm just trying to get rid of the... Oh, hang on. If I recall correctly, I was trying to get my form. Yes, it's good that I'm reviewing this. So I believe this painting, in addition to getting rid of the staleness, is about preserving the pulsing airs. Now that would mean... I think I'm somehow going to be getting... I guess this means that I think I'm going to be getting the trembling airs from somewhere. And where did I get that impression? Maybe I was just taking I could have just been taking a flyer on what would be behind the white door. I mean, it's not a bad judgment, I would say, but... Okay, so yes, we're definitely looking to try and get an improvement to our heart influence. We're translating the Book of the White Cat, stories brought by Penelope of Gordian by a blind white cat. We have a season of visions coming up next, so I want to be careful of the consciousness of radiance. In fact, I believe I'm going to get hit by that no matter what, because we've got 27 seconds on the dreams. Oh no, hang on, 58 seconds? Yeah, so in that case, oh wait, no, but we're charming. So, yeah, I don't think we're actually going to be able to get rid of the fascination. Nope, we are, because of the fleeting reminiscence. I shouldn't be trying to think too many steps ahead. I'm clearly not in the right frame of mind for that. We've been leaving the tentative evidence alone. We've got 2 minutes left on that, and it looks like that's just going to be going away on its own. Sorry, I need to sneeze. And then we have been working on the expedition. So let's just take a quick second here and see what we're up against. So we brought in Yzabet to deal with the Soyukoyants. We also have the Fifth Eye Curse, which is coming up, but we have enough heart to do our best. So it'll depend on what happens against say the Guardians. But we shouldn't really require that much more input for the expeditions. Okay, I have a rough idea in terms of where we're heading, but it seems to me that one of my overriding priorities right now is actually to get that heart influence, which means we won't be going through the Peacock Doors as soon as I thought. Alright, a light in the skull. Whenever the principle of lantern sheds its light, I may recall additional scraps of knowledge. And my recent work has attracted a couple of callers. With luck, something will sell. Alright, so happy for the contentment. I might even just try painting again right away if I've got time at the Gaiety. Well, then I suppose the question is, what would I do with the passion? But I do want to try and do something with the pulsing airs. Although I guess with the pulsing airs I could upgrade them again. So, this probably won't help my... Sorry, this won't help my staleness at all. But we have a couple of other priorities right now. You never know, this might be a living. So I absolutely have to go to the Gaiety after this, but again, anything I can do to extend the life of my my influence is good right now. My own heart pumps more strongly today. So we've got lots of vitality. If it does turn out that this has to decay to something less, I will be able to... I could spend money on better paints, or I could find more exotic pigments. Okay, back to the Orchard of Lights. Excellent! Pulsing airs, a rising power, a reassuring energy. Sorry. The hours have been called unmerciful, but they permit sleepers sometimes to walk in the Orchard of Lights, where each fruit glows like a sunset, where the roots of the trees are shaped for peaceful rest, where the mist soothes the heart. I was there last night, and the taste of the fruit lingers sharp and sweet as the passage of spring to summer. Okay, so good news here. We'll also get rid of the fascination. So doors of vision swing wide, a little darkness will mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. So we've got 31 seconds before the translation is done, but we're going to have pulsing airs that we can use straight away in terms of the upgrades. So overall good news. We call upon the moth who seeks among the trees of the wood. The moth has power in this close crowded forest night. We will pass secretly and safely unless we are very unlucky. Dusty facts have become clearer in my brain, for now at least. So this would be something where I, in other circumstances with the study verb, I would be using this to upgrade my Vagabond's maps. Unfortunately, I have a higher priority with the heart at the moment. This is coming out better than usual. This is something special. It may provoke a reaction. Alright. My recent work is considered notable. I've exhibited the latest paintings publicly. Surely somebody will buy something. Alright, so we've got contentment. If we need to worry about dread, good news there. Lots of glimmering to play with. There's our pulsing airs. And oddly enough, we lost the staleness, so we made a lot of money, and I don't need to worry about my reputation. So I'm happy about that. Okay, some of this will just expire on its own, but we need to make it to the gaiety. So the stage awaits hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they'll pay me. So this is a pretty decent little milestone for us here. What are we trying to do? Well, we are ultimately trying to advance our change. And so in this case here, we're hitting those points where we want to be, where we want to be doing some of the more complicated sendings. And so as a result here, this is, I'm basically having to throw together my my influences to be able to get the level of heart that I need for the next step. So we were pursuing the easiest way for me to get the heart influence, in my opinion at least, was to go to the through the white door and get the pulsing airs from the Orchard of Lights. There's always that danger that you get fascination, but it's one that I was sort of willing to take. Now we actually need to turn this into the influence and do the dance at the Ecdysis Club. So this is why, even though I have, the components that I need to be able to take advantage of the Vagabond's maps, to be able to upgrade them, and it's something I would like to do because we're getting close to the edge of our Evening Isles expeditions. It's just one of these cases where, I have something expiring that's actually a little difficult for me to get. And that's sort of why we're taking this particular structure. Now, the other thing that's worth remembering is that unless I talk to Sulochana, I have a bit before I need to do this sending anyway. But it's a little bit like when you have a vitality that's about to expire on the table, and you have an affliction that you just got. It's nice to be able to use that vitality because that means that those are resources you don't have to tie up otherwise. All right, so. Alright, hurry from the shadow to deeper shadow. Press faces into the spongy earth. They know we're here, but they don't know where. Their cries fade behind us. Good news, so we know that we're going to pass this expedition. If in the worst case scenario, we get hit by the curse, but otherwise we're alright. And we've got a Season of Ardors coming up, so I will be happy because I'm single. And Book of the White Cat's the same text as before, so... Actually, we only have 2 books. I need to remember that. So, anyways, we're definitely in a position now to upgrade the influence. It might be possible, with the right combination of influences, to raise more power, but only if I have the necessary knowledge of the invisible arts. Interweave the rhythms unceasing. There are lessons the anatomist, the dancer, and the shaman all learn. So this is going to be not expire, but this is going to be ticking down for a little while. Now, potencies and potentialities align, but as long as it's less than a minute, we can take advantage of the pounding airs. A 10 heart influence. The heart moves, the world moves. So again, as long as we use this within the minute, we will be fine. So we may have an extension to this in the form of a an extra dance, something where we would maybe be adding heart or passion, health or passion. But I'm not too worried about that. Again, that's a full minute. We've got 25 seconds left on this, so 40 seconds is cutting it kind of close, but not. It's not a disaster. So optimism is a spice which saves. We've repaired all the mirrors, and I obviously have the frangiclave, so the need for that is not as high as it was. I should just take a second here to review whether or not this is the best use of my talk verb right now. So we could try and do abductions to go through the spider's door if I was so inclined. We could try and bring people into the cult, although there isn't any influence that I'm looking to get rid of. If anything, I'm looking to preserve influence. And then I could try and destroy the evidence, but I know that that will be gone before, because we know that there isn't a, basically there isn't a, there isn't a season of suspicion coming up. We know the evidence is going to expire on its own. I think I'm going to take a chance with the Vagabonds map here. I think the erudition's actually going to fall out from under us, but let's give it a shot. History is less certain than what we are taught. I can learn from the study of its blurred edges. And then talk-wise, I do think probably our best call is to keep working on our reputation. So let's bring Dorothy back. Significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. What do I need from my follower? Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciple can probably smooth them over. Sorry, I just want to make sure that we don't need any more money. I think we should be fine, but... The expedition continues. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I could add funds now, or I could send another follower. Now, I think we're 1 or 2 sessions in where I've completely forgotten whether I want to be going to the Worm Museum or the Red Church, so by default I normally go to the Red Church whenever I have confusion on that, but it's also less costly for me to go through the Peacock Door now that I have the frangiclave, so... In my dreams I know the path through the glass garden to the Peacock's Door, the most admirable of doors, the door which shines like a mirror. Perhaps with the right resources I can pass it. So normally with the Peacock Door, so the thing, it looks for a tool. I think it's actually just the mirror that has the mirror aspect. But in this case here, there are keys that open doors and there are keys that destroy them. A tuning fork hum animates the key in my hand. The Peacock's Door groans in response. Already a sensuous shiver ripples its surface. It aches for fracture, and when it finds that satisfaction, I will enter. I always imagined, like, this is not the sort of thing... I suspect this is actually the kind of... I suspect this is the kind of recommendation that independent games... often get, and it's just one of these things where it's not even necessarily the case that it's a bad idea, but it's a question in terms of how much effort do you need to put into realizing it compared to how much you're going to gain from it. So I'd always sort of thought that it would be kind of interesting if when the board clears for the Mansis, when you go through the Peacock Door, it was a shattering effect. So right, like you've got the breaking of the mirror instead of the usual effect that we have on here. But again, it's one of these things where that's cool and all, but what are you giving up in order to be able to do that? I'm sure if you're, Ubisoft or EA, you have a very large number of people who are able to, you know, that you can sort of employ for those specific kinds of refinements. And you know, this is not an elitist argument at all. Like, the games are better for it, right? It's really nice to have these, you know, these big, spectacular experiences. But I would probably also suggest that someone who's excited by Cultist Simulator, you know, I think we've sort of already selected into a particular way of telling a story, and so sometimes, you know, that sort of experience that I described is very different from maybe what you'd originally signed up for. And I mean, again, don't get me wrong, like, I think the shattering effect would still be, I think it would still be consistent with the style of the game, but again, you know, you can click the credits and see, you know, how many people worked on this in total. And even then, that's after, you know, some extra work that was done after the main game was released. It's just one of these things where, you know, how much, as nice as it is to have that effect for the Peacock store, how much is that really contributing to the experience compared to, say, writing another Legacy? Or, well, that may not be an equivalent amount of work, but I think you get the idea. Maybe Book of Hours. Alright, tonight I sense an opportunity. Tonight I could attract attention if I cease to hold back, if I commit myself more fully. So no restlessness, we can just employ the health. Tonight they'll notice that. What on earth was I thinking? Oh, no, yeah, no, we're fine. I was like... I thought for some reason I needed to put the pounding airs in the study, and I'm like, what? But no, it's the workroom. There we go. I felt all their eyes upon me. Afterwards, I received a gift from an admirer. Too gaudy for my taste, but I can sell it on the second-hand market. My apologies for the phone noises in the background. Let me see if I can... There we go. Okay, let's go to the Ecdysis Club. I am occasionally paid a generous consideration to perform very specific dances for very particular connoisseurs. So there's the influence. Now we want to throw a bunch of health in as well. We don't have a health scar. It's only our health that we'll employ here. There's our purpose, and finally the Ecdysis Club. Work at the Ecdysis Club beyond the pale. This dance is performed naked. Mr. Ecdysis joins me in my dressing room to paint my body with the necessary white. He is weeping. We are strong enough in heart to be almost entirely secure against this curse. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the sky is nothing like a filthy sheet. Sometimes the river runs clear. And Season of Suspicion coming up, so we may have some trouble with the notoriety, but otherwise we're in good shape. Alright, so we needed erudition, and we may even keep the glimmering long enough. So this is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship. So we'll definitely not go for the fascination. Hey, we got lucky, so Port Museum next. I saw the red church again last night, with its pews of bone, the stained glass and shades of ruby, the golden altar that beats like a heart. At that night, the names of the Grail gathered to speak of those long who'd sworn off the pleasures of the bedchamber, save between man and man or woman and woman. They still pay the tribute of delight, an ivory said. They do not bear fruit, a lovely said. If Forge and Sun had only joined, a thirstily lamented. Then they fell to gossiping of the long of the House of Leith, and their deeds in the desert. I remember it still. Alright. So we're obviously going to need a few more of those to get our next Port Noon anecdote, but nothing's stopping me from going back with the Frangiclave. And yeah, I suspect the Weary Detective is going to cause us some trouble because of a notoriety, which is a real shame because we were so close to getting past this. And our power is stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. And the auditorium is dark and silent. A single spotlight follows my movements. It is possible, but unlikely, that there is no one watching me at all. No one to see the slow fade of the spotlight, and my final fall. No one to see the white bird rise from my open mouth and pass forgotten into the night. So there's the Silver Spintrea. We still have pulsing airs, which is kind of nice. Or not still, but we have pulsing airs. And Mystique, funds, and a dove. The dove remains when all others forget. Alright, back to the Gaiety Theatre. We might be able to get a painting in, but it's not that important for me right now. The stage awaits hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they'll pay me. We can put that there. We're still actually, even if this notoriety goes away, we're still going to get hit for completing the expedition. So let's send Dorothy out again. And we will talk about the Wildwood Club again. Okay, so Season of Ambitions. I don't think progressing by getting the dove form is going to keep us from getting the restlessness. So we may just double up and head back to the Gaiety. I could also just paint away the restlessness. I suppose I don't really have a strong prior either way. Oop. I almost really blew this. This is a puzzle with missing pieces. I may find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship. So we've got the glimmering. Eventually I will add the library, but we're in good shape. Alright, Raven Feathers. But first, a word from our sponsors, the Worm Museum. Hey! Size of the mantis is negotiable, and so last night in the Worm Museum I saw one of the worms who took Vienna caged next to a worm taken from the soul of a child. In dreams they are more visible than waking, smooth and dark as jewels. The walls bear stories of the First and Second Worm Wars. The third is too recent to have passed into the histories. So, that's actually another Port Noon anecdote, assuming that we can get the influences. A mountain cave befouled by sequoiants. On the walls they have scrawled their sad histories in 100 languages in script of striking elegance, the creatures they were, the histories they owned, and the children they mourn. And I'm a listen package of flesh and blood. Tonight they'll notice that. Alright, so there's the... Oh, 1.7 seconds. I could not have gotten unluckier on that. I felt all their eyes upon me. Afterwards, I received a gift from an admirer. Too gaudy for my tastes, but I can sell it on the second-hand market. Okay, we don't have the restlessness yet, so... But then I suppose the question would be, what do I want to do with the painting? I don't have much in the way of reputation. I don't have a staleness to get rid of, so maybe we just keep going back to the Gaiety. Or no, what am I saying? I can just keep, I can do my commissions. This may be useful for a commission. That's why my talk verbs, that's why I haven't been able to think about what to do with my talk verb. It's because I don't have commissions. Okay, now if... I suppose the one nice thing that the Weary Detective has done for me here is that when we get the notoriety, that should just get scooped up automatically by Dorothy. Whether or not we lose it is another question, but... At the back of the cave, the sequoiants have made a sort of museum nest. The fine clothes they once wore, adorned now with raven feathers. A little miscellany of cameo portraits and rotting family albums. A few items of power. So, we've got 5 creations. A manual for departure. So both of these are in vac. The origins of hours. 3rd in vac. The chalice murmurous. On those nights when we drink from the chalice, we are not certain afterwards what we have done, but we may be assured that it is always that. Let's try that again. On those nights when we drink from the chalice, we are not certain afterwards what we have done, but we may be assured it is what always has been done, and if we do not remember, our children will in their redmost dreams. Okay, so this will be replacing the hollowed polos, which is level 8. I may have to adjust the placements, but... And good work to everyone on the expedition. So I've got 5 minutes, so I can at least start the... I was debating as to whether or not I want to do another expedition, but we don't have the time to avoid the... sorry, we don't have the time for... Yeah, it's getting crowded here. If I just let the time run by, so I don't want to end the episode early, and if I let the time run by, then I lose the Callaghan and the Percussigan. So we'll start Saint Tintretto of the Deep Door. A monastery hangs grimly to a cliff edge. It should have fallen into the sea by now, but we have read the monks drowned victims in a deep pool beneath to win the sister and witch's protection from the sea 1 more year. 1 more year. All right. So we know the Percussigan will come in handy because of the sea. We'll see the rest of that as we go by. The monks of Tintrento will not be inclined to allow us to pass. They will hide their treasures well, and if we manage to seize them, no doubt they will pursue us with curses. So, of course, we'll bring the skin twisters. Time the sunset's shadow passes. I must have funds to live, or I will become ill. And Season of Despair coming up, but I don't think there's a situation, unless we start reading certain books, I don't think there's a situation where we will have to worry about dread. Alright, on to the library. And no one understands us, or else they understand us too well. So bad luck on the... reputation. I am going to try and deal with the notoriety again, just because it's right now this is the only thing that's going to be affecting us reputation-wise. We'll eventually get some mystique as a result of handing in the books, but we're in a nice position to actually be able to clear out that threat. So it's something I want to take advantage of if I can. So we should be heading back to the Red Church next. I don't need to worry about the Season of Despair in that case. An incarnance. The very air is succulent with possibility. Pierce it, and it might bleed. When one dreams of the Red Church, one hears the voices of the Grail's names, the Thirstleys and the Ivories and the Lovelies and the rest. Not all the Impausi are women, they might be heard to say. The hungers of women run no deeper than the hungers of men. But as a mother is never far from her child at its birth, and that is not always true of the father. Come closer, and we'll show you what we mean. So again, not a whole lot for me to do with the dream slot right now, other than try and get some more secret histories. But we do now have our list of objectives. So as suspected, we've got the monks. That's going to be a good one for the moth. We've got... Oh, hang on. We don't need to cross the sea. That was unexpected, actually. But we do need either Lantern or Knock, and in this case, we'll change it up. We'll bring along Lantern Follower this time. Hidden Door. There is some logic in bringing Lantern when you can, because there's 3 of them compared to Knock, where there's only 2. But again, the risk to followers is not as high as it used to be, and in fact, it may be desirable for people to wind up with a few scars. Alright, I finished the manuscript, so let's go back to the Gaiety so we don't have any trouble. And I'm no further along my path of change. In the movements of the secret forums, I must find my lesson. And if we don't dance it away, we will... if we don't dance it away, we will... we'll just paint it. So, this writ of entry bears the seal of the highest authority. Do not stand in our way. Well, let's do something a little bit better. A potent deception. We have brought with us here certain sacred texts whose meaning is apparent only in moonlight. And on that note, we will see the result of the deception in the next episode. As a reminder, this should be, I know I'm scrambled tonight, but I believe this should be Monday's video. That's actually a holiday for me, so if I am slow to respond to comments or if there's any problems, just keep in mind I may not be quite as on top of things. I usually can get to check in on a video every once in a while. And on that note, I noticed that I had made, every once in a while I'll make a mistake on the video, usually along the lines of either the image that I upload or the name. And I've noticed a few of you are quite good at being able to pick that sort of stuff up. So I did want to take a quick second and give a specific thank you to that, because, you know, it's I do these things in batches. It's very easy to make these kinds of mistakes. I think for those of you who upload to YouTube, you probably know exactly what thing I'm getting wrong. But yeah, when I do these in batches, doing them in batches is a great way for me to make sure that there are videos for every week. But it does mean that every once in a while an error will creep in. Another thing that I try to do is that I try not to be too aggressive with the advertising. So usually for a video series, if you're not in the week in which they're being released, it shouldn't be bookended at the start and the end. You should basically just have like one ad break in between episodes. And if that isn't true, like that's the sort of thing I want to fix as well. So, you know, you can let me know. I know it'd be nice if there was like no advertising. And for those of you using ad blockers, you don't have to worry about advertising. But yeah, it's one of these things where it's difficult for me to notice them at the time. And it's something that I do appreciate. I also know because I do get less than thrilled whenever there's things like backseating. It's nice to just take a minute, not just to thank people for that, but actually say it does help the video. It does help me out with these videos to do that. So I do draw a distinction between, hey, this seems to have been an error for the videos, as opposed to, hey, I know how to play the game better, and you're gonna listen. You know, that sort of stuff. I think most people understand why one may be more welcome than the other. But I also appreciate the way that I handle the backseating, and that can lead people to be a little more scared to point out problems with the YouTube style. So anyways, that was a much longer way of saying what I wanted to say, which was thank you, I appreciate it, and it was a nice chance to just sort of mark that occasion. And on top of that, a few of you have actually been stopping by the Twitch channel, or just have otherwise been reaching out and letting you know how you appreciate the videos through things that are not necessarily YouTube comments. And so it's a chance for me to sort of batch all of that together and say a big thank you as well. That's not to say that I appreciate the YouTube comments any less, and it's definitely not trying to angle for more YouTube comments. But I'm very conscious of the asymmetry when it comes to being able to communicate with all of you in terms of the videos. So every once in a while for these endings, it'll be a longer one, and more than just saying thank you very much for watching. It's a chance for me to say very specifically thank you for showing the support that you do in whatever way you show it, up to and including watching the videos to the end, because those are the things that YouTube cares about, and they do help me get noticed. I am not going to be, there's not going to be a net video for tomorrow. Tuesdays are not traditionally Cultist Simulator days, but I will see you all on Wednesday. Please take care until then. Have a lovely evening.